Hi, this is Vicki Draper and coming to you from Animal Messages, What People Want You to Know podcast. And it's episode 29. And it's Be Considerate of Your Self-Care because it impacts me. This is from your animal. Love your precious pet. And so I have with me today here Ariel Hubbard, who is an intuitive healer, and she works with people. So we have the great combination here of people and your pets and helping you with a full solution. So welcome, Ariel. Hello.
Hi there.
Take it away.
I'm so excited to be here. So I'm excited. We are also sharing this information with people in other venues. So, hey, Clubhouse listeners, I am here and I'm going to be bringing Vicki up to the stage so we can have a great conversation. All right. So I wanted to just share that how important self-care is. Now, everybody hears that concept, right? It's almost like it's like a story that people use. And it's just, they say, oh, you need to take care of yourself, but there's a whole level to that. That's a whole other very, very important aspect, because if people don't take care of themselves, they're not present, they're not grounded, they're not doing the diet stuff. They affect everyone around them, human beings and their animals, right, Vicki? You have a story about that, I think.
Absolutely. Well, my own precious cat, Tasha, who was with me for over 19 years, taught me this. And it's been a main part of my teaching now, because she would always sleep with me and she quit sleeping with me. And then she was throwing up. And that wasn't like her either. And I'm like, okay, so I take her to the vet. They say nothing's wrong. It continues. I'm like, something's wrong. I go back to the vet. And so after multiple trips and them saying there's nothing wrong, I'm like, yes, there is. So then I started looking at myself. And that's where I started grounding and clearing, and then clearing her, and it all went away.
That's amazing.
So she was definitely a great barometer for me that my stress level I was not managing it appropriately. And so then after that, it was my cue. If she would kind of take her little space from me, I'm like, oh, got to do that. And then now it's just a regular part of my practice, so that that my current animals and I can have a different relationship with that. So she taught me that great lesson.
That's huge. So, I mean, Vicki, you're also an empath like I am. And so, and to the people out there watching or listening, an empath is someone who can see or feel or experience the energy of other people. And apparently there's a whole list of different kinds of empaths. But the way I look at it is people read energy through different chakras. They read the energy through the crown, so they know things about people. They might see things, that's the third eye chakra. They might hear things, that's the ear chakras. They might sense it, or feel it, that's through the solar plexus chakra. They can even smell or taste energy. And guess what? Animals can too. And so the thing is, based on what your presence is, and we all have life, we have moments where we're not being our best selves, right? And the people around us and the animals around us pick up on that. And it's huge. So I want to talk about depression just real quick. Depression is a thing. And the reason why I'm mentioning it is because the easiest way to address that is through exercise, physical exercise. It's the least utilized, least expensive way to deal with and help with depression. Okay. And so many people don't do that. And so they feel this heaviness. They could also practice energy management. They could be clearing their chakras. They could be meditating. They could be grounding themselves, centering themselves, right? Yes. They could be using the violet flame to clear negative energy out of their space. They could be using Vicki's amazing flower essence remedies to clear. And the thing is, it's one of those things where people don't know that other people can pick up on their energy. And they don't know, like, well, if you're stinky, you take a shower. Well, if your energy's stinky, you do a shower of violet flame. They don't know this. And then they're walking around being depressed. And one of the characteristics of, if someone's depressed, is because they suck all the oxygen out of the room. So like the things they say, what they do, their problems, their all that stuff, that leaves no space for anyone else. Now imagine how an animal would feel. How would they feel if their guardian is like that all the time? Oh my God. Oh, so,
Yeah, so
right,
they react
right,
differently depending on what's going on, because sometimes that's
right.
where they will get the acting out what the human is labeling bad behavior, and they're just a barometer. Like I say, animals are barometers, and so they're just like not knowing what to do with all this extra energy that's spinning around in the family unit, and they're doing crazy things, and when that gets toned down, then the animals tone down, or they'll go off and not want to be a part of you. They want to be away from you because it's like, can't handle that right now. And they can take it on and do the mopey and turn inward. So I mean, they do have a range of ways to manage it. Yes.
Boy, didn't you just talk about people? Oh, you were talking about animals. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's true too. Well,
Oh, when people go away, don't want to be a part of you because your energy's stinky. Like, ew.
exactly. That's yes. That's what happens in real life with people
Right.
too.
People push you
Absolutely.
away.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we're all energy systems walking around, and we know if we like something or we don't like something.
Right. And so we're either open and it feels like amazing and there's flow and it's like delightful and fuzzy and everyone's snuggling and it's fabulous, right? Or it's like, ew, go take a shower. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can tell people that may think that they don't understand energy. I've got a scenario here for them or for you. And that is, I am pretty confident that in your life you have walked into a room or walked near a person and you were just instantly delighted. It was just like it was lit up, like Ariel, you were just talking about, lit up. Well, that's you're picking up on the energy. And I can probably go on a limb here and assume that you've probably walked in and felt this like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be here. This is awful. It doesn't feel good. And you want to leave. Well, that's what Ariel's talking about, this energy you're picking up on. And that's what our animals do with us and the world too.
So Vicki, let's say some of our listeners, I love you, but what if they're clueless? What if they don't know? How do they recognize? How do they know? Like, they don't know that their energy is affecting their animal. Like, what are the signs of that? How would somebody know? Like that, what do they need to look out for in their pet to see?
I love you bringing that up because that's why we're here. We're here to help empower and educate. And one, you're hearing this, so you know that that's a possibility, or that whether you're conscious of it or not, you and your animals are in an energy system and you are impacting each other. So now that you know this piece of information, now it's taking the best care of you. It starts with you. So it starts with grounding and the energetic clearing. Ariel has and
I can lead you guys through a process for that if you want. I can lead people through a quick little process for that at the end of this. So if people want to hear like a process, I can give them an idea of a quick.
Perfect, because that is one of my core teachings, because it is so powerful, and that's where it all starts.
100%.
And even if people have been doing it a while, it's great to get the reminder, because it's a daily process for me, is to just 100% grounding, because it's like you said, we take a shower daily for physical hygiene. We dust our furniture for that. We've got to we've got to manage our energy fields and keep them refreshed.
100%. And so I can give a couple tools. And then how would people know? So basically their pet is doing strange things or something that's a different behavior.
Yeah.
Right. And verbally, right? So maybe they jump up on a couch that they don't jump up on, right? Or they turn tail and run when normally they snuggle you, or
exactly, or they start barking like crazy at everything they didn't before. And or they start getting destructive. They start chewing things.
Okay. Peeing, I'm guessing too. Sometimes,
Oh yeah, the
oh yeah.
peeing and pooping in inappropriate places.
Especially if they're looking at you while they're doing it.
Oh yeah.
I have a story about that one. I had a cat growing up. She had a big personality. She was great. She had a lot of personality. She's very smart. One time they had guests, and I think she was hungry and they weren't feeding her. They weren't paying attention to her. And she was a Siamese and she was very demanding. She got super mad. She looks at my dad. She stands right over this potted plant. She looks at him. She pees right in the plant. Like, wow.
At least it
That
was
sends the message, doesn't it?
That's
It was like,
yeah, it's a message.
I got your plant right here, and now it's not going to be
Yeah.
alive anymore.
Yeah, because they'll do it on your favorite rug, or they'll
Yep.
do it on the bed, on your bed.
Yep.
You know, it's
So so what I was going to say is what this looks like in people around you is they ghost you, which I hate
Yes.
that personally. I call it the silent treatment, but the more popular term is ghosting, right?
Yeah.
They ghost you. They deflect. They talk about other things. They all of a sudden they're super busy. They don't want to have a conversation with you. My experience is 90% of people are terrified of conflict or confrontation. But if you just had a frank, open, loving conversation, that would be like so much would be cleaned up. I mean, I recently had a student, this is so funny, from a long time ago say, yeah, I go, yeah, how come you haven't been in touch? And I knew why basically, but I wanted her to say it. I want to see if she would say it. And she's like, well, because, at the end of, the time we were together, I had some stuff that was due and I didn't turn it in, and you were really frustrated with me, and I was an empath, and it was really like, sensitive, and, and I said, and I didn't apologize for that. I said, yeah, I was frustrated because you were self-sabotaging. You're really good at what you do, and I wanted you to be successful. So of course I was frustrated. And I said, but you let that feeling from all those years ago keep you from being my friend for the last 10 years? Oh, I said, please don't do that. It's okay. She's like, I'm a much different person now, and I'm in a different space, and I'm much more okay with direct communication. And I'm like, yes, you are. I said, you're fantastic. Like, I really enjoy your company. I really want to engage with you. I want to talk with you. You're incredible. Because, and I get these conversations all the time with people where, well, they'll tell me about why they didn't talk to me, years and years ago, is like something I said pushed their buttons. Sometimes I'll say something nice to somebody and it'll push their buttons. It'll upset them because it triggers some trauma from someone else that had nothing to do with me. And then they project that onto me, and then they're mad at me. And I mean, this is super common. Human beings do this stuff all the time. But for the sake of this conversation, I want people to know, if you see people projecting stuff onto you, if you see people just stop talking to you because there's some kind of upset that needs to be cleaned up, then you get to decide, well, how are you going to clean that up? Well, here's the thing. You need to practice your self-care. So self-care sometimes looks like getting enough rest, getting enough exercise, having fun, doing the stuff you're supposed to do, take responsibility, get it done. And if you mess it up, clean it up, apologize, do something to make it right. I have to do this sometimes. Often.
Yes.
But it's a way to clear your energy, because if you hold on to emotional upsets from years and years ago, it's a problem. And the thing is, because humans have different brains than animals, human beings can hold on stuff from decades ago, but it affects their animals today.
Exactly, because it's in the
Right?
unconscious, and they
And the
feel
animal
it
the
regardless.
animal just goes there. I feel something that doesn't feel good. How can I help my guardian process it? And then they feel sick or not good or whatever. When the human being, they need to take some time to clean out the energy of whatever that thing is that they were upset with somebody. So I recommend that you guys make a list of people you're still upset with and people you have incompletions with, and go through and do clearing. And you don't have to talk to them. You could talk to their higher self. You could say why you're mad or what you're upset about, or you could own that you've been mad for 10 years and you're sorry and that you really like that person and you want to interact with them, or you could, something to clean that up, right?
Yeah.
How could people communicate with their animals? Should they apologize to their animals for having stinky energy? Should they say something? What do you recommend?
The animals don't take it personally. That's a human
Oh,
trait.
interesting,
That's
right?
a human trait because animals are in the moment in that regard. I mean, animals will hold trauma in their cells and have reactions from that, but it's not in their head going along playing the loop over and over. So things that you as a person think you may be upsetting your animal, they're not sitting there judging you. They don't judge, and they're not holding on. I wish she would do this. They love you so much that they are taking your stuff on themselves because they're
Aw.
trying to help you clear it. And that's why the next step after you take care of you is to take care of your animal.
Well, that is the ultimate in compassion.
Yeah. Oh
Wow.
my gosh. Yes. And it's so common, not even with just the emotional stuff, but with physical stuff as well. I've got a client who's getting ready to go in for hip surgery, and she's in a lot of pain and reached out because, she wanted to make sure her cat was not carrying her stuff. And sure enough, the cat's right hip was just carrying a bunch of stuff from trying to help his precious guardian, because they love us. They just do that. So freshening him up and letting go of everything that's not his really boosted him up, and also gave him then the understanding of what was going to be happening with the surgery, because his guardian couldn't play with him his favorite game because it would mean she'd be on the floor, and she couldn't get on the floor right now.
So
So it's like,
communication. So communicating.
so I was communicating this piece to let him know, so then he
Right.
could understand. Yeah, because they think differently than we do. However, they do react. They are the big empaths. They respond just to what's going on. Like, for example, I had one dog client, Terry, that was aggressive and just aggressive, and the guardian was just kind of beside herself. What I found out is if I asked her to step out of the room, Terry became a mush dog. I could sit there and massage Terry and get Terry to relax. As soon as the guardian came back in the room, back to aggressive, because he was picking up on all of her unsettled energies.
So then what did you do with her?
Well, that's where then, we have the conversation to get her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's very common in my practice, because I had another client, dog Cato, would get aggressive even with his guardian. And so she came to me because she's like, I want help. And I could tell they were feeding off each other. So I had them we're sitting in the room together. And because I work out of the veterinary clinic, the Animal Healing Center in Redmond, Washington, and that's where this was happening. So we were sitting there, and I'd said, all right, I want you to just focus on you a minute. And so I did a grounding exercise. As soon as she got grounded, Cato just laid down right beside her, and her eyes got really big. It's like, wow. So she really got firsthand how that happened. And then with Cato, there was a little bit more that needed to work. There was some heavy energy that was stuck in his body, mid-body, even so much so that as soon as I was getting close to that, he would get aggressive again. And then, so I backed off and went slowly and told him he was, I'm here to help, and he gets to choose. And he chose to let it go. And then after that, he was a totally different dog. So he had two things going on. But awesome. The grounding was the guardian was a big part of it. And then we had a piece that he had to.
Well, he probably, if he's focusing on her, it's hard for him to let go of his own stuff, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So let's talk about dynamics in people, because like if you have somebody who comes in for a session and they're taking care of everyone else, like literally I work with people, their whole session, they're talking about everyone else in their family. I'm like,
Yeah.
let's focus on you. Let's focus on you. Let's focus on you. And literally they're starting to relax and they're getting into this good place. And then they're like, but what about my kids? I'm like, let's focus on you. It's really hard for some people because there's some identification or some value. And usually it's a martyr archetype or servant archetype or like even a victim archetype sometimes, where the person's like, well, I have to take care of all these other people and I never get my needs met kind of situation. And so sometimes I'll work with people, and sometimes it takes a couple sessions for me to see, because they're so good at deflecting. I have to really go, oh my gosh, no, this is about you. And with some people, it takes me several sessions to get them to drop down into a deep state of being present with themselves.
Yes.
And that relaxation piece is a really important part of self-care. And so meditations are really important. They're very important because they help people drop down and get in relaxation state. And that's going to probably help their animals too, I'm figuring, right?
Oh, absolutely. I can tell when they
They
come
can smell
in.
that. They can smell stress hormones, of course,
Yeah.
right? And so, and then they can smell relaxation hormones on people.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah. So it's going to help a lot if the people get into this space of quiet and peace.
It is. And then I want to bring up a big point, because you're touching on that. With people, you have a choice, because
Mhm.
it's like, is the pain, is what you're complaining about really something you want to let go of? Because
Mhm.
some people want to hang on to the story because it served them, like you said, in some way. And the true healing
By the
is,
way, that's called a secondary gain, or sometimes a tertiary gain. That there's primary, secondary, and tertiary, and they have to do with like how people hold on to a story because it gives them something. They're different kinds of types of gains, but it's one of those three usually.
yes,
Anyway,
I'm planting the seed here to say yes, because the true healing and the true gift of life and you living your best, which means then you're giving that to your animals, and not even your animals, your
100%.
children, your loved ones, is to say yes and go through it.
So one of the, you work with animals, but you also have your flower essences.
They're actually
Right.
mainly crystal essence.
Crystal essences.
I know you always say flower.
Sorry, I always do that.
They do have some flower in them.
Some of them, but the crystal essences, you also give them to your human guardians too, right?
Yes, they work with
self-care?
people and
Yeah.
animals. And so every first session I do with somebody in my private practice, it comes with a clear, which has some grounding component in it, an Iceland spar, which is a very balancing
Mhm.
and getting present, and then a protection, puts energy protections
They're
around.
very nice essences, everybody.
Because
by the way,
it's a great daily energy management to help you while you're learning to do it in other ways. And I still use them. Well, I use them daily, because even when I'm tired, it's just a no-brainer, simple solution to help you.
So basically people take it and they spray it in their field, right?
Yep.
And then breathe it deeply, right? And let themselves like imagine they're absorbing the frequencies of the essence, right?
Yes. The nice thing I love about this is because early on when I developed these back in 2003, my cat, I have cats, and I could never give them drops. So I created the mist, the sprays. And the benefit of that is it's benefits the whole family. So everybody in the vicinity gets it. So it's a more global, broader solution than just focusing on the individual.
Which is important. And in Huna healing from Hawaii, when they would do healing work, they wouldn't just work on the person, they work on the whole family, because they knew that everybody and everything affected everyone else. It's the same wonderful idea.
And so that's the way where my work, it started out is working with just the animal or just the person, because I worked with people in person at that point, to now that, right, it's a family system I work with. And yes, we may start with one animal, but I don't just focus there. I focus on what other factors are impacting.
That's awesome.
And then a lot of times, like I said, we're getting the guardian involved with the grounding practice and the clearing, because a lot of times that's a key component.
Yeah. And so you do distance work.
Yes.
Yep. And yep, that's awesome.
So
And
yes, in
so
my
all the
private
people
practice.
watching this, they
Yep.
can have access to you, right?
That's right. Because I've been,
Yep.
yeah, I work with people locally, nationally, and internationally. And now that I have been for years, and now that Zoom remotely, and now that Zoom is more available, we do it through Zoom. Before we'd do it on the phone line. You know,
So much
so
better.
I
Yeah.
love the visual with it where we can connect.
It's beautiful. I also do long distance too. I work in person, but I've had to do a lot of long distance stuff. And there's a lot of work because I also work with stones. So you're doing the essences, and I'll take stones and then I'll use them to send energy to people. So I do work, I work with all kinds of things, but cards, stones, and just tapping into people's consciousness and giving them advice and suggestions, reading their auric field and what's going on with that person's energy field. So really,
yes, and Ariel is phenomenal.
oh,
So.
thank you, sweetie.
Yep.
As are you.
Thank you.
I mean, you guys, I've sent people to her that their animals were having a really hard time. Like, the neurotic dog with the separation anxiety, as an example, that's somebody I'm hoping will contact you. That's a new person. I mean, I'm always sending her, because, you guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but you guys know that there are psychiatric meds for animals. Like, I don't know about cats, but they use them for dogs. They have psych meds for dogs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that. And the thing is, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And what do those people do when, oh God, the last thing that they try, the end all, like, oh my gosh, that's not going to work. What are they going to do now? Have them call or contact Vicki, because there are reasons why they're not working for, and every animal is different, just like every person is different. Psych meds don't work on every human being. They don't work on every animal. And the thing is, like, I wish I'd known about you 15 years ago when I had a client, and I started working with her because her dog, this one dog, was so ill behaved with all the other dogs that her stress levels were off the charts. And I wished I had somebody like you to send them to, because and I actually did crystal work with that dog because I didn't have anybody like you to refer them to. And he changed a little bit, but she changed a lot because I taught her some energy management tools to, again, help her get in her quiet, calm space, so that when she was around this particular dog, he wouldn't go off and attack the other dogs. And so I also have experience with this. And horses are sensitive too.
Oh, yes. And
do you have any horse stories that you could think of?
Yes, I had one horse that I got called in because nobody could touch him. Not until he couldn't get a vet exam. Could not even get a vet exam. And he resonated with me. I guess he knew my true intentions and got him calmed, got him, totally turned around where his person could ride him and he could get vet exams. So it's so beautiful to just
so
be a
amazing.
part of this life-changing, behavior.
That's huge. How many sessions did it take to get him into a different state? Do you remember?
I can't remember if it was 2 or 3. A lot of times, a lot of times,
wow.
Animals are quicker than people. Animals are quicker than people. Well, because they don't have that tape that they're hanging on to from years and years ago, that there's just in their cells. We get those cells moving, then it's a different thing. And then if there's an environmental thing, we get that solved. So yeah,
that's awesome.
So why don't you were going to walk through a process.
I sure did.
Is it about just looking at the time? Is it about
I can do this in about 2 minutes. I can make it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so it's important to visualize a beautiful, rich green. And if you're looking at Vicki's screen, there's a painting over her shoulder and there's a green in that painting. If you imagine that green color, it's a nice, rich Kelly green, like the color of shamrocks and grass. And if you imagine that at the center of the universe, there's a source of green energy, and it's going to come straight down through the midline like a line. It's called your central channel, and it's going to move down through your body. It's going to move through the top of your head, and as it enters your body, it's going to come in and fill up your body with green light. And then it's going to move straight down through your body, through the center, through your heart, down through your belly, through your pelvis. It's going to split into 3 lines. One's going to go down between your knees and your feet. One's going to go down each leg, and then three lines of green energy are going to go down your legs, out your feet, and out between the feet chakra. They're going to go 3 lines down, 7,000 miles down through all the layers of rocks and aquifers and crystals and all that stuff into the center of the earth, 7,000 miles. You're going to connect with the beautiful, powerful energy at the center of the earth that gives life to all beings on the earth, because we have a place to live here and we have energy here that feeds all the plants and creatures all the way up the food chain, including us. That beautiful energy comes back up through those 3 lines of energy, out the center line, comes back up through, fills up with green light, and it comes up above our head, and then it pours around the energy field, your auric field, and it goes down to your feet, front and back. And it just take a deep breath. Breathe in that feeling of green, healing, joy, relaxation, calm, and peace. And then I want you to imagine you can connect with your center. You could call it your soul, the bright light that's at the center of your being. And I want you to imagine, like you could imagine you're going into, you're inside a mountain, there's a cavern, you're going into a tunnel, that you go into this tunnel and it opens up in this beautiful space. And there's this brilliant white light that's there. And this white light helps you connect with the divine consciousness, wisdom, and energy of the universe. And it helps you feel safe and at peace. That's the quick version of grounding and centering. And if you do some version of that, there are many versions every day, or whenever you feel like you're off, guess what? You'll feel better and your animals will feel better.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ariel.
My pleasure.
And
100%.
for more, yeah.
Thank you, Vicki. You're awesome.
For more, Ariel and I will be on Clubhouse on October 7th at 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll be on Facebook Live at Vicki Draper. And then you will find this.
You'll find me at arielhubbard.com, and Vicki is at healingyouranimal.com, right? Did I get it right?
Yes, you did. And so, yes, I will be having this on my website, a link to it, and it will also be then posted to Anchor, and
yes,
it goes out to Spotify and iTunes and multiple.
So if you're a podcast fan, go check out all of her other episodes.
Yeah, and the podcast name is Animal Messages. What your animals want you to know. And
that's great. And then I have an upcoming podcast that hopefully it should be coming up in the next 1 to 2 months. It's called Woman Power Zone, and it's going to be on all the major channels, and it's a podcast to empower women. I'm also going to be setting up a Patreon page with extra episodes on ways to clear the chakras, the auric field, spiritual contracts, all kinds of cool, fun information.
Yeah, so tell all your friends if they've missed this and you enjoyed it, that where they can find it, and join us next month.
We'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for everything. Thanks for tuning in.
All righty. Take care.